guys, welcome back to the Anchored Media channel. My name is Tatum Ayomike. I am the CEO and executive producer here at Anchored Media. In this video, we're going to be talking about how you can improve the flow of your podcast. Now, the worst thing that you can do as a podcaster is just get on and hit record and start talking. It does not work. It's not a great listener experience. Most of the time the messaging is all over the place. So you want to have some structure and some organization to your show. And you do this through segments. Now I'm going to give you some ideas as it relates to segments. But before I give you some examples, I want you to take a second and really think about your audience, think about what you want to get across with your podcast and what segments need to be in the show in order for your objectives and your audience's objectives to be met. When planning out your show, this is not a time for you to just copy and paste things that you've heard on other podcasts, but really craft a show that accomplishes the education that you want your audience to have, the entertainment you want your audience to have, the inspiration that you want them to have, whatever it may be. Take a step back and think, how do I need to show up on this show for the next 30, however many long minutes in order for what my goals are to get across to my audience, and of course for their goals to be met while they're listening. And that's not something that I can tell you. This is why I'm saying this first before I start throwing ideas out there, because I want you to pause this video and go and do that so that you can make sure that it's tailored specifically to your show, your goals, your listeners, and their needs. So here's some examples. In the beginning of the show, this is where you set the tone for the episode. And this is where you can either keep or lose your listener. So definitely make sure that you're starting your episode off, that first segment is something that brings your listeners in. If you're an entertainment podcast, it could be hot topics. And actually, it doesn't even need to just be entertainment. If you're a business podcast, it could be what's going on in the business world. If you're a news podcast, maybe some of the top stories. You can also start the episode off with maybe a story time. Talking to your audience, painting the picture, setting the scene, setting the tone, and really captivating them by bringing them into a particular story. You could also use quotes, statistics, Bible verses, whatever fits the goals of the podcast and the goals of the listeners, but start off in a way to where it captivates your listeners and really reels them in so they can continue to listen further. Another tip to make sure that you're captivating your listeners early on is you can just do this in production. So take the most powerful minute and a half or so from the episode, place it in the beginning before your intro, and then you just kill two birds with one stone. Less talking that you have to do, but you're pulling that most potent, influential, hard-hitting part of that episode and putting it right in the beginning, and that makes the listeners intrigued and that makes them want to listen through to learn more of the context in the conversation that led up to that moment. Some other segments that you can do throughout the show, of course, you can answer questions. This is a great way for you to really bring in your listenership and their participation. So you can have like a separate email or somewhere on your website where they're able to submit questions and you can answer those on the show. That's a great way to make your audience feel like they're included in the content. In addition to answering questions, you can do shout outs to where maybe you have somebody new who followed the podcast or subscribed on YouTube or something like that. You can shout them out via video, via social media, also in the podcast. And again, this is helping your audience to feel included, and it gives them something exciting to look forward to see if they're going to hear their name in the episode. And then towards the end of the show, so you have the beginning where you're captivating your listeners, you want them to continue to listen to the content. You have the middle after you've given your message or whatever the podcast is about, you've had that discussion, you've incorporated some type of audience participation through shout outs or answering questions. Now at the end of the episode, it's time to get them to come back. You want them to subscribe, you want them to listen again, you want them to rate the show. All of these things are beneficial to you as a podcaster. So a great way to do that, especially when it comes to rating and subscribing, just ask. For one, definitely make sure you ask them. But also you can take, if you have pre-recorded your content, you can take a clip, just like I said, of taking a clip from that episode and putting it in the beginning. You can take a clip from a future episode, put it at the end of the current episode so they can know what to expect next time. Similar to how you see on TV shows and it says coming up next on insert show name here, and there's some type of preview for what's to come to get people coming back. You can do the exact same thing for your podcast. podcast. Now remember, this is why consistency is important. So if you haven't watched our video on consistency, check it out, because if you have batch recorded your episodes, you're able to do this. If you haven't, and you don't have any content to pull from to get them excited about what's to come, this may not work for you. But again, anything that you can put on the end to get them to take some sort of action as far as participating in your show, and also action as far as whatever it is you have going on in your business, that's the best way to end it off. Make sure you're subscribed to our weekly newsletter, The Profitable Podcast, because we give so many different tips and industry news of what's happening in podcasting to help you build your profitable podcast. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss when we put out another one, and I'll see you in the next video.